Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Fantasy Show. We're back again with a Tinch, but no Byron. And I'm back, also no Fred. And then we're joined by Johnny, a name that you've heard a lot through the fantasy show. Usually gets slammed a lot. He's here to defend himself. Let's get right into it. Johnny, you started the season off 3-0 and you're currently on a 3-game losing streak. What has happened? What's the reason why?
I'll tell you what's happened. Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, Tinch.
Right.
Jonathan Taylor's happened. I know he didn't have a crazy good start, but I feel like losing him 3 weeks ago, he's been questionable for a couple of weeks, and then I immediately picked up Nyheim Hines I thought, well, they're a run-based team. I'll pick up the backup, and he goes and gets a concussion on the first play of the game when he fills in as a starter. So it all kind of went downhill from there, to be honest.
Well, it's classic Johnny poor choices fantasy.
You know what? This season, I might have been the Sacco of years gone by, but I think I drafted pretty well this year. I'm just having a bit of a slump. Just a bit of a slump.
At 3-3, you're the same as everybody in this room currently. I'm 3-3. Tinch, you're 3-3 as well.
I should be 3-3, and I'm not happy about it.
Little stat for you though, as you are mad about it. There is no other team bar the person in first place that has outscored you on points. You've scored 731 points.
Yeah, I'm fully aware of this, and this pisses me off because it happened the other year when I was like fucking 8th, and I was scoring big scores. And do you know what it is? It's Shank, and it's Shank every fucking year. I have never, ever in the history of fantasy beaten Shank. I can't beat the guy. Even when I get a good matchup against him, he just pulls something out of the bag, and I can't beat him.
He's someone else's kryptonite player as well, isn't he? There's someone else who can't beat him.
I think he's everyone's kryptonite player. I hate it.
He's 3-3 like everybody else.
I was going to say, he can't be everyone's, otherwise we would have heard a lot more about him.
Well, of course, but he's definitely mine. It pisses me off because I'm since first couple of years he beat me, and I was like, yeah, fair, did shit. But every other year, I'm like, yeah, I've got him this year, and fucking lose.
He's an unorthodox drafter, and he always somehow manages to be towards the top of the table every year, which is a bit of a shocker.
It's outrageous behaviour, but you got to give it to the man.
Yeah,
don't like it.
The guy who's not with us, Byron, he's 3-3 as well. He's not here to defend himself. He's currently on a 2-game winning streak. This is a guy who prides himself. He prides himself on being at the top of the table. He prides himself on claiming he's better than everybody at this game. Do you think this is the year that it unfolds?
Byron got some good luck, some beginner's luck at when he first joined the league. He had a little bit of a hot streak to start him off, and he thinks that he knows everything about football. Like, even when you talk to him about football outside of fantasy, he knows everything except for the fact that he doesn't.
I'm going to really enjoy this podcast because I love what you're saying about Byron. It's true, but I love that you're here because I think the fact that he thinks he knows everything about football really upsets you, and you're going to spend this whole podcast just talking shit about him and bombing down on him.
I have said, like, I feel like I said to Andy before we started, I feel like I take a lot of flack on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I have.
I give you a lot of flack.
I've been the victim of trade rapes. I've called players by the wrong names. I've made a lot of rookie errors. But you know what? I'm here to defend myself. I'm here to talk.
You say rookie errors, but the fact that you're not a rookie, it can't be a rookie error. That's like that's why I'm going to call it a vet. Yeah, it's a veteran error for you now because you've been in the league that long. You still make these mistakes.
Maybe I'm just a vet making rookie errors.
You're just the fantasy version of your own team. You're a Jags fan. Sometimes we think they're doing well, and then all of a sudden they're rubbish again.
I feel like that's actually the fantasy version of the Raiders because the Jags typically just suck straight from start to end.
Yeah, I mean, even as a Raiders fan, I'm not even going to argue with that.
I'm not going to lie. I'm getting trade request after trade request for Josh Jacobs, and I'm thinking,
Yeah, but
they're
like,
going to start sucking pretty soon. So I might as well.
Mate,
Yeah,
I'm really
PPR-wise,
shocked.
he's got loads of points.
Really shocked you didn't take the trade of was it Tyreek Hill and Alec Pierce for
No,
Las Vegas?
49ers running back.
Jeff Wilson.
Wilson, that's the one. I'm still having discussions with Adam.
Wow.
I didn't realize pressing counter would automatically reject the trade and then it was gone. But I am speaking to Adam because I do like the trade. I like the idea of having Hill. But at the minute, my running backs, I've got too many.
You don't want Jeff Wilson anymore.
No.
Christian McCaffrey's at the 49ers.
CMC's back, baby.
I would play him this week. If I had Jeff Wilson, I would play him this week and never again until CMC inevitably gets hurt.
It's one of them, innit?
Which
Now,
he will do.
I've got a really interesting topic to bring up this week. I've been having a look at the two teams there's only two teams that are 5-1. Everybody else is pretty much everybody else is pretty much on the same. It's either 2 or 4, 4-2, lots of 3 and 3s, a little bit like
There's
the NFL.
lots of 3 and 3s.
There's one team that's down the bottom on 1 and 5. But interesting enough, the two teams that are at the top.
Are you not going to name the 1 and 5 team?
What the Dak Street boys?
Just call it out, like with the fantasy show. Just call it out. Shame them.
Matt Kirk, not sure.
Matt Kirk. The Dak
Need to
Street
check
boys.
in on him, make sure he's all right.
Probably not.
He'll be fine. He's playing me this week.
He's been really quiet outside of the group chat as well, so I might need to check in on him and just to put an arm around
I
him
could
also.
just fill you in, actually. I tell you why he's at the bottom, because he's just taken a job back at the Pug and Greyhound, and I think that's ruined his life, and that's why he's down the bottom. Apparently, it's paying very well, but I don't believe any money
right.
make that job all right.
Moving on. To the question in hand.
To the question.
The two teams that are 5-1 and destroying people and high in the league, both drafted wide receivers with their first 2 picks and left running backs. This happened last year as well. The teams that took wide receivers first ended up towards the top. Is there a change in the way teams should look at their fantasy, and should wide receivers be valued more than running backs going forward?
I'm a yes and no on this. I did actually think about this the other day. I think since I first started playing, yes, the way to go was running back, and pick up those running backs. They were your big points. But now, if you kind of look across the whole field over your top running back, top wide receivers, it's getting point wise more level. Running backs are getting the same sort of points as wide receivers now, and I think where the wide receivers are picking up, there's a lot more top wide receivers. Like I said the other week in the show, you've got 32 tops starting running backs, whereas wide receiver wise, you've got 2 on each team who could be potentially at least 2 on each team who are scoring big. So there's double the chance. And if you're going big wide receiver first, I think you're more likely to score some better points nowadays, because I think the game's turning a little bit more towards wide receiver, and there's the double the chance, especially in the fantasy world. Especially now we're playing a PPR league as well.
I think it's definitely more wide receiver heavy. I think that they definitely play a bigger role in collecting the points for your team each week. And it might be just to do with the way that they're being used. I mean, I believe I was first pick, and I believe it was either my second pick right at the end of the second round that I took Debo, or it might have been my pick immediately after that in the third round, because I knew that he would be, he's more part of the run game, or as much a part of the run game as he is in the passing game. And you see more and more players like that. If you look at the Ravens, they're so run heavy. They use so many players from the backfield. It's just like they're more versatile now. So I think that they're definitely becoming a much more important part of fantasy. Where, like Tinch said, it was always running back. If you get 2 starting running backs, you're going to be picking up ideally over 13, 14, 15 points a game, if not more. But now you can start to sort of see those numbers consistently with a good wide receiver, and not just the deep threats.
But you say that that you picked up Debo maybe because you were first pick. So if you're first pick, you've got running back, and then your immediate first pick after that is wide receivers. You still double running back down, but that's just an advantage of draft position, isn't it?
But
what I was saying is these wide receivers are actually probably your top ones anyway, picking up now more points than running backs typically are at the moment, the way football's going. Because you're seeing these incredible quarterbacks come out of college at the moment who are actually getting the ball downfield, and the way the ball's been played at the minute. I think it's not so much shutting out running backs, but I think there's a little bit less reliability on running backs in the league at the moment. And this is where the wide receivers are picking up a little bit. So if you get a top 10 wide receiver, then that might get you more points than a top 10 running back at the moment.
I heard a stat the other day, and it was talking about at this point in the season how many touchdowns had been scored compared to it was either last season or the season before, and it was like 400 and something before, and it was 300 and something now. There was like 100 less scored. So if you're looking at running backs, you're thinking, okay, if you can get the ball to the 2-yard line, the 3-yard line, you're going to give it to your running back. And that's where they were more likely to be picking up their bigger points, where the receivers are the big bombs downfield. So if there's less touchdowns being scored overall, you're probably seeing less of those, goal line running back being just fed the ball, put it over the line 2-3 yards. And so it could be something to do with the fact that the offenses overall have maybe stopped scoring as many touchdowns, and maybe that it's actually the running backs have reduced in points rather than the wide receivers have picked up in points. It could be that way around. I'm
going to weigh in slightly here. My issue with it at the moment is the inconsistency from running backs. I think when I look at it, and when you're looking at drafting, and when it's your first round, it's your first pick, you want one of the top guys, you want one of the big guys. But outside of Austin Ekeler, who is the current leader in points and average points per game for running backs, they're new names again. Saquon's back up there. Nick Chubb's not always up there. He's in and around. And then it's McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, Breece Hall. So, there was a lot of emphasis on Derrick Henry being picked early. Lots of emphasis on Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris. And they're averaging the same average. This is what I mean. After the top sort of two of Ekeler and Barkley, who average around 20 plus points a game, the drop-off is around 15 points average for the next slot, and then an average of 10 points all the way down to 27. So your 27 running backs are averaging all around the same, bar the top two. So if you look at the wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, 1, 2, 3, 4. You knew that they were going to be the top four before the season started. Marquise Brown, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel. It's the same names. So I think there's value in taking a wide receiver early in the draft, knowing that if you pick one of these names, these are all averaging 20 plus a game, all of them. I think 3 of them are averaging 18 a game. So there's more chance of you hitting on a consistent player every year than there is in running backs at the minute.
I think you're right, but I think the reason we take running backs early, because like I said earlier, you're looking at maximum 32 starting running backs, whereas you're looking at least double that wide receivers. I think that's why everyone goes running back first.
But this is what I'm saying. I think it's changed because the inconsistency of the running backs. We look at the team that's top. They're currently starting Damian Harris, and he has got Walker in his team now, Kenneth Walker, but he had Miles Sanders. Now, these are 2 running backs that you can get later on in the draft. They're not 2 of the big names. They're both playing committee backfields, the Patriots and the Eagles. So, and then we look at the next team. They're starting Singletary, who no one wanted, and Tony Pollard, who, again, works in a committee backfield. So you look at their wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase in one of those teams, and I think it's Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp in the other one. And they're the 2 that are leading. I think you can get value later on and score the same amount of points with those running backs.
Oh, absolutely. But then I know I'm still like set it, but like you say, I've scored one person scored more points than me. I went running back first, and I've got Eckler and Edwards-Helaire, and then my wide receivers they're probably, I don't think either of them are top 10. And I'm still sitting these kind of points down. Yes, it's not worked out in my favour because I've been outscored, but I don't know. It's a weird one.
It's something to think. It's something to think about.
Definitely something to think about in future drafts because, like you said, we've always done running back. That's just been the way it's done. But like you say, this year, especially last year as well, I think you probably could have stuck a wide receiver in that first couple at least.
See, I think it largely comes down to your draft position. Like we've always said, that first pick is not the pick that you want. If I didn't have the first pick, which was going to be either Taylor, Henry, or Cook, one of those top 3, 4, 5 guys. If you're picking 6 or 7, you're gonna go running back. But when you're picking first, or in that top 5, you're then waiting right to the end, and you're potentially looking at having a whole season, or unless you can make some good trades, where you don't pick up a second running back that's going to be playing as a starting running back every single week. So, you leave yourself in that position. I think it's hard not to stray from the tried and tested running back model.
And it is because of the lack of running backs as well, like you say.
I just think if you put yourself in the position to not have 2 starting running backs, you're taking an absolute gamble on a single. You're going to be picking a wide receiver that you need to score big points every week. I just think the consistency of running backs in the years gone by, you can't turn it down. It's so hard to turn it down, even though the evidence is obviously pointing towards a wide receiver.
But again, on top of that, if you don't take a running back at least first or second, and you go wide receiver, you're looking at third round where potentially a lot of other people have taken top running backs, and you might be looking, when it comes to third round, like a second string running back in both positions, and then you're only talking maybe maximum 10 points a game, if that.
But this is the point I was making.
But I don't think these wide receivers are making up for that loss.
They are. This is exactly what I'm saying. When you look at the running backs and look at the average points scored between sort of 10 to all the way down to 27, they all average between 10 and 14 points. So you're saying, they're only going to get 10 points.
I have a question to you, though. I have a question. And if you're relying on, if you're making your picks and you're thinking, right, who's going to get me points every week? When you look at the league and look at the injuries that happen, when you pick a running back, you're relying on one person to stay healthy. One person that, granted, they're taking a lot of contacts as a running back. They're going to get hit every single, they're taking contact pretty much every play. Because if they're not running it, they're blocking. But if you're picking a wide receiver, not only do you need the wide receiver to stay healthy, but you need their quarterback to stay healthy as well. This is the one thing that really, and I messaged this to Adam. I said, one thing that really kind of threw me off in this trade is I don't know what's happening with Tua. And I know that he's scored points without Tua in the last couple of weeks, but you're relying on 2 players to stay healthy in the NFL. Like how often can you take that chance? I think that's one of the big things for me that makes it a much more risky sort of route to take, is putting all your chips on one player and relying on 2 to stay healthy.
Yeah, it's running backs are always going to get hurt, aren't they? We see the cycle of it go. Whoever picks first, that running back always gets injured. You've led me into a nice segue in here, Johnny. You've led me into the trade chat. Now, there's been lots of chats and lots of different groups that are behind the scenes. Why is it so hard to secure a trade in our league? For some reason,
everyone's scared.
Why are we so scared of taking a risk for trading?
We've seen so many trades in this
league. I think that trades are hard in the first 4, 5, 6 weeks because if you'd have said, do you want to trade for Saquon at the start of the season? You go, no, because the Giants are going to be wank again. Like, why would you? But now you look at it and you're going, oh, actually, maybe I want to hold on to it. So you start asking more and more questions, and you don't really know who the teams are going to be after the draft, after the offseason, after free agency. The teams change so drastically every year. I think that it takes that first 4, 5, 6 weeks to really get a grip on who teams are. I mean, look at how many points did the Cardinals put up last night? 48, I think it was. Was it 42?
42.
It was a lot. It was a lot of points.
Huge.
They've not done that all season. Are they good? Are they suddenly, have they turned it around? And now you want to start looking at the Cardinals receivers? Do you want to start looking at the Cardinals running? If you're taking it from the start of the season, what actually happens between then and week 6 is. But
now is the time. Now the bye weeks have started. Now the injuries have started to roll in. Now is the time to trade. Teams that are 3-3, which a lot of us are. I think now is your time. If you've had you lost Jonathan Taylor, you were unsure of how long you were going to lose him for. I've lost Marquise Brown and James Conner. As soon as I lost Marquise Brown, I was like, oh, what's my depth like? I need to start looking at a trade here. I need to see what I've got, because I've got AJ Brown, and I reckon I can trade him for 2 consistent wide receivers just to get some depth, or maybe even another running back in there for some points. But Adam, who is his second year in our league, last year he won it. He is always looking at trades. He's always looking at trades. He's always looking at changing his team. He's always looking at matchups, schedules, who teams have got to play. Should we not be doing that as well?
No, I've called Adam out before on this.
Adam's looking for his next victim.
No, Adam, I'm sure I said it on a fantasy show before. Adam is looking to stack his team out with number ones all over. And ask anyone who's had some sort of trade offer from Adam, he's offering like a decent player and a shit player for a top end player. Like, I messaged him last week because I was potentially interested in some sort of like mid-range running back, just give me a bit more depth. And next thing I know, I'm getting off like a 3-player trade for Austin Eckler, and he's happy to give up these like low-end players because he wants to stack his team out. It's not due to his like research and knowledge. He just wants the best players in his league, in his team. I'm telling you. I don't blame him for it. It's a good strategy. If you're offering a lot of players for one good player and you can stack your team out, go for it.
I think he's obviously using people's injuries and the fact that they need someone to get the best out of it. When people are in need and they have to make the decision, it's hard to turn it down. But I think there's definitely, I've been looking at a trade. I'm looking at trading away AJ Brown at the moment, just because that's all I've got at the moment at wide receiver. Now, I've got Olave now, he's back. But, looking at trading him away, I'm now looking at other people's squads, and I'm looking at what I can get if I can get low-end players. So I'm looking at players like Drake London, knowing that people might give him up because he's not been incredible, but he's been good. And the Falcons have got a really easy schedule coming up. So I think there's an element of looking at what value you can get out of some of the lower end players for your high end players, and see if you can get 2 of them for your stacked player. And I think you definitely, our league especially, now needs to start looking further down the line. Otherwise, we're going to get a bit of a stalemate that we've hit the last 2 years, where everybody's just 3-3. Let's talk about like 7-7. It's a 14-week league. Just everybody was so good last year because no one's willing to take the risk and attempt one big trade and maybe we move off of something. But
send you a trade, mate.
Have you? I'm already pending one.
Within tradition, because we've done it the past 3 weeks, Byron sent Freddie a trade the past 2 weeks. So I'll just send you a trade, mate. If we can get a live trade done.
Let's have a little look.
Live trade. I'm down for the live trade.
I mean, mate, that's real.
I don't even.
Yeah. What have you said?
Mate, I don't even want to trade. I just want to get a live trade done.
I've just rejected it, mate. If you wanted a live one, you could have. He offered me Hunter Henry and Bobby Trees. I think.
Yeah.
Was it Robert Woods.
Classic Adam.
I mean, Adam's currently got a trade. Adam's currently trying to trade with me at the moment, and he's offering me Tyreek Hill. He knows I want a wide receiver, and he's offered me Tyreek Hill. He's the third ranked wide receiver in the league.
He has offered Tyreek Hill to a lot of people, you know.
Yeah.
I think he's got the same concerns I do about his quarterback situation.
It doesn't matter who's in there. They've had 3 different quarterbacks, and the guy scored 18, 46, 25, 13, 29. It doesn't seem to matter who's in there.
No.
Have you missed a number in there?
Yeah, he scored 5.
Yeah. tell the full story. Come on.
There was 1 week. There was 1 week.
Yeah, everybody has 1 week, don't they?
They do. They do have 1 week.
Back onto trades now. I think the reason a lot of people don't trade is because you're getting a trade through, and as enticing as that one player might be, especially for me, you're always still looking at your team like, oh, but he's scored me this. Do I want to do that? Do I want to? Yeah. It's the risk factor, I think. You always get a little bit, is it worth it? And you look at them like, I could pick them up with this trade, but then I'm losing X player and this other player might. Do you know what I mean?
You guys are talking about this in terms of...
There's a bit of fear. There's always the fear in the trade, isn't there?
There is fear. I think there's fear. But you guys are talking about these trades as in people just offering you trades and you worried. Is it not time that you guys tried to... Tinch, you've done a few over the years, but they seem to all be with Byron.
I'll tell you what it is. I do a lot of trades with Byron because we'll sit in the pub one night and we'll just be chatting about football, and then like one of us will offer a trade, and because we've talked over it and like in person, and we can actually discuss the points these players are like scoring, it's different. If I'm just texting one of you or just banging a random trade out, there isn't that chance to actually kind of talk and discuss and how, say, if I was sat down with one of you pair, we can actually sit down and discuss and see how that trade's going to benefit the both of us, rather than me just sending you a random trade and just looking at it and going, and then again getting the fear and going, no. Do you know what I mean?
Just overthinking it.
Yeah. But if you actually sit down with someone, you get to chat to them, you can actually, okay, maybe that's actually good for both of us. If that makes sense.
The issue with picking, you know, these, I'm going to call them Adam trades, the second stringers.
Is that what we're calling trade reps now? It's Adam trades.
Just Adam trades.
He's going to be really upset when he watches this again. Yeah, I think we call out Adam every week on the Fantasy Show for trade rate.
But yeah, one of the big issues with it is, why would you, if you can pick up a second string or, you know, a third wide receiver or a second string running back, if you're that desperate for one, you can pick one up and give up somebody on your bench. That's so unless you're being offered, like, don't get me wrong, if he's offering Tyreek Hill, that's one thing. But when he's offering a second stringer and somebody a bit shit, then, you know, what's to stop you going, well, I can, if I really need someone in at tight end, I can have a look on the waivers. And
I think tight end quarterback, possibly wide receiver too. I don't think you need to trade for. I think they are always going to be on the waivers for you. It's those wide receiver ones, your flex and your running backs that you
if you're double down on two like running back injuries or wide receivers, you are not picking up a suitable replacement off the waivers or anything. There is nobody in our 40-man that's going to easily replace one of your stars. And that's where you need to trade.
If you've got players that have got bye weeks coming up, and it might be worth trading for a player that's already had their bye week.
Absolutely,
just because you know you're going to lose them for a week, and to win that 1 week could win you the league. Let's move on. Let's talk about the upcoming week. Let's talk about some of the players who we're starting, who we're sitting. Johnny, is there anybody you really like this week? I know Tim's done no research this week.
I've done no research for this week. I've been a busy boy.
From my own team or across the league?
No, across the entire league.
And just so you know, and you're clear on this show, giving advice of, I think you should start Patrick Mahomes is not advice.
Oh, because I was going to say that I'm definitely going to put Lamar Jackson in. Because
that's not advice, is it?
No, that's not what
I was about to just call somebody out, but I don't think that would be right to do for doing that.
I mean, I think
the
it's
one who
always
did
like-
fantasy years ago on this show. I don't know if he might listen to this, so I'm not going to say it.
He probably doesn't.
Can I
you
just
should
call him
anyway.
out then?
Do it.
No,
Just call him.
because
No,
he's in the
all right.
podcasting world. So
Yeah, no, it's fine. And as far as I know, he's actually a nice guy, but he's funny.
Yeah.
He's dog shit. But can I give a club?
I'm going to throw a name out for you guys. Then let me know whether you think he is a must start or whether you've got question marks over him this week. And I'm going to start the quarterback, and it's Matt Ryan. Had a really great week last week. Proved that he can get it done in Indy. He's got a great matchup against the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, a divisional rivalry. Can he get it done again?
Do you know what? I'm gonna go with a start on this one this week. I've got some faith. Matt Ryan is not a bad quarterback. I think he just ends up in a lot of bad situations, and sometimes he can't perform. But I think he can do it this week.
He's a sit for me. I think if you've got another option, I don't think he's going to score you any more points than, you know, whoever you may have on your bench as a backup quarterback. I don't think he's an absolute must that's going to bag you loads and loads of points.
Oh no, I'm not saying he's a must, but I think it also depends on what you've got. But I think he's not a bad choice for start this week.
Don't get me wrong. If he's your regular starter, don't leave him out. Like he's not going to be a bad option, but he's not someone to be looking to pick up or desperately, you know, if it wasn't too late to trade, then you wouldn't desperately look into to get him on your team.
He's not a bad quarterback.
I personally think Matt Ryan is a must start this week.
You go must start.
Looking into the stats a little deeper, the Titans have given up. I think they're second in most passing touchdowns given up to quarterbacks. So Matt Ryan, for me, proved he could do it without Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines last week. So we know we saw Alec Pierce in the end zone. We saw Michael Pittman proving that he can be a wide receiver one. And I think we're going to see a bit of a resurgence and more targets go towards Paris Campbell. It's the first year he's managed to stay fit through 6 games, and that's been his main issue. And the targets that have gone towards him, he's managed to haul in. Though not for loads of yards, I think we'll see more usage with those guys. So I think Matt Ryan for me is a must start this week, and I'm keeping him in.
I was about to say when you said we've seen him do it without some of his key players. Yeah, I can fully agree with that. We know we can, like I said, we know we can get it done. Yeah, he gets himself a bad situation sometimes. He's not a bad quarterback.
Do you think if he's got both his healthy running backs, the scheme falls back on the running backs and suddenly he falls back onto that and doesn't?
Yeah. I think it's a mixture of both.
Fully depends on the team he's playing.
It's going to be a mixture of both, and having a good run game is going to free up the pass action. So it's going to free up those deep balls, and you're going to have a lot of players free down in the end zone, knowing that the run game is there. So I think it might be easier for him to get those longer touchdowns in there. So my next quarterback for you guys to deliberate, it's a guy that I tried to pick up off of the waivers, but my waiver priority was very poor, so I missed out. And that's Marcus Mariota going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. Marcus Mariota has proved that he can be a starting quarterback again in this league, and he is doing the business at the Atlanta Falcons. But would you start him against the Cincinnati Bengals?
Marcus Mariota is the business. He's not a bad quarterback, and he showed that when he did play backup last year at the Raiders. He is a solid quarterback, and when his team is performing, yes, fucking start the guy. And I think he's got it this week.
Are you starting him this week against the Bengals?
I am starting Mariota this week against the Bengals. I think he's putting some points in. I'm there for it.
Yeah, he is a star. I only have really managed to actually watch his games, watch any of his games earlier on in the season, when they were at full strength, full health, but across their offense. But yeah, he seems to be a very capable quarterback in tough situations. You know, like he's not had the best of luck. You know, these players tend to make their own luck, but he's not had a great situation to work with, and he can pull it out of the bag when he needs to. So the Bengals is going to be a tough game. He's going to have to be on top of his game, and I think that will go either way. And if you're a bit of a risk taker, he might be worth worth getting in there because, like I say, I think that game can go either way. I think they can either get blown out and put at no point, or he will have a game, and I think he will have a game.
I've got a few question marks over him this week. I tried to get him knowing that his schedule after this game gets very, very friendly. But I'm really struggling to put him in this week just for the sheer fact he's always good for a rushing touchdown. I think that's where his value comes in this season. Since Patterson's been out, he's proved that he can agile and run the ball and get in the end zone. But that front seven from the Bengals has been tough and it's been hard. It's there. It's going to be hard to get any run going against them. So I'm 50-50 with him. I'm leaning towards maybe leaving him out this week and looking later down the line for me.
I think that definitely be a safe way to play it. But I think he's going to do good this week.
On to the running backs then, guys. Let's have a little see what we've got.
I tell you who I do like this week, who is back, Damian Harris at the Patriots.
Really?
Yeah, I like him, and I think he's going to have a nice game against complete four around my head.
The Bears?
The Bears, there we go. Of course you should do. Everyone should have a good game against the Bears.
Well, on the flip side of that, if you're saying Damian Harris is a must start against the Bears, Johnny, is Ramondre Stevenson a must start against the Bears, or is Damian Harris going to take those snaps away from him? Because Ramondre Stevenson's been breakout for them, and he's been absolutely fantastic in the weeks that Harris has been out. Should he be the main runner there?
I think if you look at kind of reliable setups, reliable coaches that have been in a place for a while, typically they tend to see what's happening and adapt to change well. If a player's playing well, Belichick's not going to
pull someone out of the game
because he plays a hot hand.
Yeah,
it's like the quarterback situation with Zappe and
Mac Jones.
They pull him. I don't think they will until you give him a reason to pull the player. Until he shows you that there's better options on the bench. I think he leaves them in. So I think Stevenson stays in the game.
Split decision for you guys. One's on Stevenson, one's on Harris. I'm not weighing in on that one because I'm really not sure. I'd probably stick with Stevenson, but Harris is great and he's proved year on year out that he's RB1 for that team. So it's hard to not see him being put back in there. But Ramondre Stevenson's been fantastic. Now, another running back, we can't not go the show without talking about one of Johnny's guys, James Robinson.
Now,
he's been underrated and undervalued, but Travis Etienne has been, since he's been getting more of the ball and he's more explosive, he's more dynamic. Is that the way forward, and is it time to check out on Robinson?
I was sitting here hoping for a gap to interject and throw Travis Etienne into the mix because I think for people that, if people are playing in small leagues with maybe, 8-man leagues,
that's not a real league.
If what did our second league start as? An 8-man league. If you're playing in a small league,
that wasn't my choice.
Might be available, and he would be a big target in the coming weeks. I think he's going to continue to have the production that he's having. Although it's his second season in the league, he was out for the entire first season with his injury, and I think that connection that he's building with Lawrence, rebuilding the connection that they had at Clemson, I don't see them moving away from him as taking over that starter role. You got to remember, James Robinson he's an undrafted rookie.
Yep.
He's come in and he had a massive season, and then he had an average season, and now don't get me wrong, he's picked up and he's playing well, but Etienne is, like you say, he's shown he's making big explosive plays. He's quick. He's hard to get a hold of, and he's going to score well most weeks, unless you play again. I mean, there's going to be a few defenses that you come up against that are going to be really, really good run stoppers. But I think he's the man for the Jaguars for at least the next couple of weeks.
Are you benching Robinson? They're going up against the Giants this week, and the Giants' defense has looked pretty damn good.
It is fire. Giants defense is fire at the moment. But I can't disagree with Johnny. I think Etienne is actually the man at the moment. And like you say, you're going to come up against teams who are good at stopping the run. But if they're good at stopping the run, they're going to stop all of the run. It doesn't matter what player. And like Johnny says, Etienne he's more explosive, he's more exciting, more dynamic, and he's getting the ball moving further than Robinson has over the past few weeks. I think Etienne's the man down there at the moment. Unless something drastic happens and Robinson suddenly just goes, "Oh, I can actually run the ball for all day."
I think even if he does,
Etienne's the man.
This was talked about in our Dynasty League that we've got for the Franchise Tech podcast. That someone offered us Robinson on the trade block, and Freddie was umming and ahhing and thinking about it. And I was like, no, look at the production. They're slowly weaning him out of the team. So I think even if he's playing well, they want Etienne in there. They want that young talent in there. So I think regardless of it, even if he plays well, I think they'll try and let him take a back seat.
But so, with your dynasty, like you could take Robinson on a trade still, because if he gets pushed out, he
not
might.
Worth it. It was a flat out no from me, mate.
But he could end up at a different team and do better.
Onto your wide receivers. Is there anybody you're really hot on, or should I throw you out a name that I'm a bit 50-50 on, or
just throw some names out because I'm not doing any research.
Okay, first up, Alan Lazard going up against the Washington Commanders. We saw him have a better game. Now he's back to fitness. Now he's in the team. He got in the end zone. He got the touchdown. He is, for me, their wide receiver one. I don't think Romeo Dobbs has quite taken that
he's not there yet.
Value. I think Rodgers likes Lazard. He knows the chemistry with him.
He's a solid
going up against the poor Commanders team. Are you sticking with Lazard, and is he a must start this week?
I think if you've got Lazard in your lineup, he's a must start. Washington's defense is fucking piss poor at the moment. Well, as is the entire team. So if you've got a nice matchup with Lazard against Washington, then go for it.
Yeah,
but we have got to think about the poor performance of Green Bay's offense at the moment.
Yeah, but you're going to start Mulberry. You're not going to take out the number one weapon of a two-time MVP, back-to-back MVP. Yes, they've not had a fantastic start to the season, probably their worst start to the season in a really long time, I'd imagine. But it's Aaron Rodgers, it's the Green Bay Packers. They will get it figured out. And if they don't do it if they haven't done it yet, they might do it this week. I think he's a definite start. You're never going to pull that number one option.
On the other hand, I'd also start probably a good Washington wide receiver against Green Bay this week as well. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah.
I think it works.
I can see the argument for that.
I think it goes both ways because Green Bay have not looked incredibly good this season so far.
Okay, so what do we feel is in store for the Denver Broncos wide receivers this week? Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. Are you starting them or are you benching them against the Jets?
Wolverine's back this week, isn't
he? never wasn't out.
Oh, I'm Wolverine. No, you're not, mate. You're Russell.
I have stayed up and watched too many Denver Broncos games on Thursday nights.
Why prime time? Thursday nights. Time. What's that about?
To watch these games.
Because they've got Russell Wilson. You know how it works. Yeah. If you've got a big time quarterback, you get prime time.
Dog shit. They are awful to watch, and I would not touch those two. Not because I don't think they're good players, but I couldn't touch them. I could not touch them. Awful.
Do you know why else I wouldn't go for the Broncos wide receiver core this week?
I didn't even listen to who are they playing. I
just know. Gardner.
So, after the Cheesehead incident.
I mean, he's a rookie and he looks fantastic. Wow. So, he's going to be marking those wide receivers, and I like him. I think he's good. So for me, I'm benching.
He doesn't look good. He is good.
Benching the Broncos wide receivers. I'm not going to talk about tight ends because it's just Travis Kelce, really, isn't it? And kickers and defense, don't mind. But as usual, I don't know whether Freddie had any of these. I'm unsure, but we've got questions.
We haven't had questions for a while.
Oh, since I was last on. Right, we've got questions.
Yeah. Oh, no, we had live questions on the show. We had a couple last week.
This is from Pete Books, at Pete Books. Should I take a gamble on starting Chase Claypool after getting some good work in last week?
No.
Who they got? Who are they playing?
Daft.
Who do the Steelers play?
The Steelers are playing.
It doesn't matter who they're playing. Don't be so fucking stupid. He's had one good week this season.
I've been holding on to Pickens on my bench in the hope that team turns it around.
Well, yeah, they might do. They're playing the Dolphins.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm just calling this out. We're probably going to be sat here next week, and I'm like, oh, you should have started Chase Claypool last week. But
yeah,
I don't think you should. I don't think you should.
Same as the Denver situation. Until you've got that little bit of faith in what's happening around the rest of the offense, you can't be putting in the wide receivers, especially if you have other options.
If you've got other options, a player just because they had one good week. If he'd been consistent up till now,
what if I told you that in week 5 he had 9 targets, in week 6 he had 7 targets? The targets are tending to go a little bit more towards him over the last couple of weeks.
I still think it's a waiting game.
I
won't go this week. Maybe a couple of weeks if the target's still starting to climb. And he's actually doing something.
I'd be
this
inclined
week,
to put him in, if I probably wouldn't start him as one of my wide receivers, but I'd be inclined to play him in my flex. If I had him, I'd put him. I'd probably take a gamble on him.
In a deep league,
it comes down to options. If
deep league, yes.
He's not a bad choice if you've got no other options, but I don't think you're chasing him. If you've got him,
the census of it's 2 against 1. The census is we're not taking the gamble. So the next question.
I was going to say. I just said we're in a week. We've got quite a few bye weeks this week. So if you are in a deep league, he might be a valuable option.
Definitely, yeah. There's a lot of big name wide receivers out this week. So if you,
I think if I had him on my team, I wouldn't be playing him this week. But that's purely based on the size.
The next question comes in from Adam Hull Sports. He wants to know, should he play Hardman or Zay Jones? Johnny, do you want to weigh in this one first?
Yeah.
Wang it in, bro.
I looked. I believe. No, he's not available. I was looking at another receiver. Zay Jones. The Jags have been spreading the ball out that much amongst their receiving targets. So it was like week 1. One player had almost all of the touches. The second week, that same player had maybe 1 or 2 touches, and another player had all of the touches. A couple of weeks ago, it was Marvin Jones. Evan Ingram ended up with about 6 catches or 6 or 7 targets at least. And the ball isn't getting distributed to a single player. So I don't know a great deal about how the Chiefs are spreading the ball around. I know that Juju had a pretty good game just the other week, but if he's been any sort of consistent, I would probably opt for Hardman over Jones, just because if he's not the man that week, then you're out of luck, and he's probably going to get about 4 points.
Yeah, they've both got tough matchups. Jags are going against Giants. Chiefs are going against 49ers. So 2 real tough defenses. Tinch, are you Hardman or Zay Jones?
I'm a Hardman man. I'm a hard man. I'm a hard man. No, that sounds weird now. But pretty much the same reason as Johnny. I think that's your safer option of the 2. But again,
it's a safer option going up against. If they're the 2 you've got, is a safer option knowing that Patrick Mahomes is throwing you the ball against a good defense over Trevor Lawrence still learning the league going against a good defense. So I'd probably go Hardman for this one out of those 2.
But like Johnny says, there's so many weapons on that team. It's just who's getting the ball that week. Like Johnny says, you just don't know, do you?
Okay, so I've got a trade. Would you accept this trade or not?
Probably not. I'll never accept trade.
And that is Goddard and Pierce for Andrews.
Oh, if you can get Andrews on your team, you take him all day. if he's being asked to give away Andrews, then no, I would. I would.
What's the situation?
I'm guessing he's got Andrews, and someone's offered him Alec Pearce and Goddard.
Someone's trying to Adam trade him.
No. Vice versa. Yes.
Yeah, that's a
if
great.
you've got Andrews, don't get rid of him. But if he's given you, get that trade done.
What's your in terms of points, Dallas got the 4th best tight end in fantasy points, and Alec Pearce for me is going to be a big high scorer wide receiver too for the rest of the year, to give up Mark Andrews, who's the number 2 tight end in the league currently. So the value's there.
Yeah, I'd rather keep the number 2 tight end, because I'm assuming this person, if we're talking trades like this, I'm assuming that person's probably got some pretty good players on their team anyway, some like solid wideouts.
Yeah,
they don't need Alec Pearce. And again, I think this trade's happening because Alec Pearce is, yes, he looks extremely promising, but he's a little bit unproven yet, isn't he, this season? The consistency's not there yet. And I feel like if it was a few weeks when Alec Pearce has done incredibly well, that trade wouldn't be happening. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. I think if you look at that trade in the same way we just looked at the Zay Jones, Mecole Hardman, it's like, yeah, got it. He could have a great game, and he's playing for a team that's scoring a lot of points in most of their games this season.
And they've got the easiest schedule out of all the teams left to play, haven't they?
Yeah, but why do you pick what? For me, anyway, the reason that I try to pick players is because they're going to score me consistent points. I'm not looking for maybe that's a mistake by me to look for that depth in the second stringers that are going to pop off that week for a certain reason. That's
you've also you've got to remember Pittman's on that team as well, so you're not actually picking up a starting wide receiver in that trade. Yeah, you get a really good tight end, but you've got the number 2 tight end. And unless you're struggling at wide receiving, you might need a backup or a decent flex. You wouldn't go for that trade.
I probably hazard a guess he's not in a 14-man league, so
I'm going to guess
the value of wide receiver on the waiver wire is probably decent as well. So
yeah, I feel like Alec Pearce is probably, if he's in a smaller league, Alec Pearce is carrying less weight as a wide receiver, hence why he's in that trade. I think maybe in our 14-man, if you're in a 16-man, might be a valuable trade. But in a smaller league, no. Bigger league, yeah, maybe.
Well, that's all the questions we've got, guys. We've managed to. Hopefully, they've helped you. Have you got any final words for us before we sign off, guys?
I did text Byron asking if he had a shitty question for this week, but he said he wouldn't do it because apparently that's his thing and it's the only thing he's got to live for at the moment.
Oh, that's a bit sad.
So he wouldn't tell me a question to ask you, so we'll have to wait till next week to do that one.
Johnny, any final words?
I'm just happy to be here. I've really enjoyed myself.
I'm happy you're here because we've slammed you so much and you've actually come on and managed to defend yourself.
You know what? I took a lot less flack today than I thought I would. I thought I'd get a little bit more abuse, but
that's because you've not listened to the previous ones we've done.
No, I've been listening.
He went back and listened to it.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought you might. No, I think that this. I feel very prepared, much more prepared going into this week to make a couple of decisions. I've kind of looked at some matchups that I don't normally look at. Feel like the tendency is to look at the matchups that I've got on my team and not stray too far from them. So I feel like having. It's been a worthwhile conversation for me and hopefully the listeners as well.
Yeah,
and hopefully, you'll probably still lose anyway.
Thanks for joining us.
Nice you got the optimism.
I think hopefully we can get Johnny on a bit more. I think it'd be a nice dynamic. Add Byron in here as well, and the 4 of us can probably go through some bits. But yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. Hopefully our advice has helped you guys out there. So best of luck on Sunday for you guys. And till then. Thank you and goodbye.